Welcome back, my naughty listeners. It's your salacious goddess Ivy, and of course, today we are back for episode 4 of my naughty bookshelf. And my God, has it been a week? Um, it's just been a week. This book that I read, my God, this book that I read, as you can see, I kind of did a little bit of an upgrade thanks to Denise. Um, the book today is Pretty Monster by Sheridan Anne, and oh, we got a lot to get into. So, with that being said, let's get into it. Let's get a little dirty. Sheridan Anne, Sheridan Anne, Sheridan. I would politely like to let you know that what you created in this book was so beautiful, so fucked up and so beautiful. And we're about to get into it because, man, this book fucked me up. I took my time reading this, Sheridan. I sat down after 60% of the book because I was so in love with this book. I was so overwhelmed with the need to finish. As a book person, I could finish this book in 2 hours. That's how addicting it was. But I had work and other responsibilities, and I had to notate and I had to note. And I gave myself a whole 24 hours, maybe even almost 48 hours to put the book down, go touch some grass, go hang out with my friends and family before I got back to this book, Sheridan. And when I got back to the book, I was just like, what the fuck? But I knew it. I fucking knew it. But like, Sheridan, I love him. I love him. I loved all of them. But girl, Delulu, I'm sick. Like, what did you do to me? What was that? What is this? Huh. I just need to let it be known. After all of this today, I'm officially going over to dark fantasy because I need a break from you guys as characters. I need to fall in love with like a vampire or a fucking god because like, Sheridan. Okay, we're getting into it. So for one of my favorite segments, of course, I do the book dedication, right? Right? So the book dedication in this book says, for those whose hubbies aren't willing to pull a mask over their face and chase them through the woods, dreams don't always come true. But hopefully this will scratch that itch. Keep trying, girl. Persistence is key. He'll eventually cave. Delusional. So, every book that I have given you guys a review on comes with trigger warnings, content warnings, like danger no-go zone. And of course, I could not find on her website a full list. So since reading the book, I decided just to do a little list of my own of what I have found to be in the book. But please be smart. Do your due diligence, and please check Sheridan Anne's website, study the book, Google the book, look up the book's content warnings yourself, because I'm assuming you're smart enough to work the internet, especially since this podcast is for 18-year-olds and up, for mature audiences. So I'd like to think you're mature enough to look at what you read before you read it, because some of the content warnings in the book are serial unaliver, fiction, CNC, stalker, mention of trafficking and kidnapping with a little trafficking and kidnapping. Not from any of the main characters, by the way. I don't want to put you off to this because it was absolutely some of the bad guys in the book. Knife play and violence. Lots of violence. Lots of unaliving. Okay? So I need us to be grown-ups and really decide if this book is for you. It was for me. It may not be for you. So for the character breakdown, I'm going to get a little excited because I was really hyping myself up to do this episode today because Sheridan, girl, you wrote so many male characters in this book that I fell for before I realized, like, no, why would you do that? But like all of them, it was giving why choose? It was giving reverse harem. It was giving I'd take them all. Until one by one, I didn't want them all. So, anywho, the female character, her name is Kaya Bailey. She's a tattoo artist. She works at High Voltage Inc. And then you have some of the MMCs, which I consider them the MMCs because they're going to be mentioned a lot in the book, right? You have Crew, who is her fellow tattoo artist who works also at High Voltage Inc. You have Viper, who is a motorcycle gang enthusiast, all right? Like he's in a motorcycle gang, MC, whatever. Then you have Reed the stalker, and you have Alex the hot neighbor. And then you have Big Jim, which is the boss of High Voltage Inc. Sweet guy, love you, Big Jim, love you, buddy. And the side characters to me would just be Natalie, which is Kaya's best friend. But we gotta get into this because guys, just wait, hear this out. So I knew that eventually it would come to the day where when I do my daddy-o-meter, the daddies are gonna change. It doesn't change for Zayd because Zayd is still number one daddy. But in the third spot, I did have Xavier and Kane fighting for third place because I was like, I just can't really put them. But today, I am sad to say that I 100% put Alex in second spot. It's just, I know this is gonna sound crazy, and I really wish I can make it not sound crazy, but like, the shirt says it, right? Obviously, I'm thinking it. I read books like this for fun, so obviously there's some type of truth to my delusional, right? I know it sounds crazy, but Alex is daddy, and he's in second daddy place. He's officially daddy number 2. Now again, just like I want to humble all my daddies, that can change. Okay, that can change with any book I read. Who knows what the next book's gonna bring? It might kick him out the spot. I could just let you know that Zayd stays up at number 1, but it's Zayd, Alex, Xavier, and Kane. But then again, it could go Kane and then Xavier. But either way, delusional. Today's word of the day, delulu. Okay. So in this wonderful book that I've read, we have the female character. Her name is Kaya Bailey. She works at High Voltage Inc. Not much really is said too much about her other than like her mom abandoned her when she was 17, and so she was walking the streets, and you know the owner of High Voltage Tattoo took her in and was kind of like, what are you doing on the fucking street? It's too late for you, you're too young. And then just kind of helped her get her life together, and from then that's been her home. And if part of that came with Big Jim, the owner, Crew, who is another fellow tattooer who's also crushed on her and loved her, and then there's Viper, who's also crushed on her and loved her. And so you have all these people vying for her attention, you know, and she's so just busy trying to better her life that she's not really too worried about the men who crush on her, because as much as they crush on her, they're also protecting her. They won't allow anything to happen to her. She gets to and from work safely. And it's just a lot of, you know, I want to make sure this girl is successful, but one day you're going to be mine. And there's something about that that's just like, yes. But as time goes on, you know, her and her relationship with Crew kind of develops, I can say. She's always known that she's liked him. Apparently they fucked around a little bit, but never fully fucked around, just a little head here and there. But they, you know, anytime Crew and Viper get together, because everyone wants Kaya to do their tattoo. You know, she's just that good of an artist. So Viper, being like, you know, the vice president of a motorcycle gang, makes sure that the whole motorcycle crew goes to her specifically, gets her, they pay her bills basically. And, you know, Crew just kind of gets a little bit jealous because between Viper and him, you know, 2 men vying for the same woman is just like, it's a recipe for success yet disaster at the same time. So, you know. And then I guess one night, you know, Crew wants to kind of make it a little bit more official with her. He's just kind of desperate to be like, bro, I've been in love with you since I've met you, and yet here you are, just not taking it serious. I understand you're still young, but I want you. And so they fuck around, which is not even one of the best, spiciest scenes. So that's why I just said they fuck around in tattoo shop, which, by the way, there's a lot of sex that happens in this tattoo shop. So now I'm starting to walk into these tattoo shops like, how many of you guys fucked in here? It's unsanitary. But anywho. So Crew kind of makes it known that he really wants to be with her. And immediately after they sleep together and start fucking, he professes his love. He's like, look, I'm going to allow you to hoe around and do what you got to do. But just know that he's basically saying at the end of the day, no matter who you sleep with, you have a safe zone with me here. That's basically, he's like, you can come to me. I'll wait for you. You could do what you got to do. I know you're still young. I'm not trying to force your hand in marriage, but you have a home with me. And she likes that, right? But the very next day, after making it clear that, you know, they're not gonna do too much, he starts getting a little possessive, a little jealous, a little too much. He starts kind of claiming her and becoming over dominant. And like every girl loves a dominant man, but when you do too much, it's a turn off. And he was doing too much, and it was turning her off. Viper finds out. And Viper's like, baby, you didn't fuck her. Did you really fuck him, technically, right? And of course she did. And so he was just kind of like, you don't understand who Crew is. And she's kind of like, what are you talking about? So apparently there's like this other side of Crew that nobody knows, but nobody wants to talk about. And Viper being, you know, motorcycle person, not really one to talk, but he's like, you just don't know what he's really into. I need you to be careful and just slow down on fucking him. Like he's too much. He's too much. I gotta pause there because this is just, it's too much. With her conflicted feelings for Crew and Viper kind of warning her about Crew, she has yet to notice that there's a stalker that's been stalking her. I mean in her house stalking her. He's been leaving the window open. He's been leaving her panties just strewn up like across the floor. But she's just so busy on tattoo and work and Crew and Viper and warnings that she's not knowing that there's literally someone in her house. So like multiple times she says she'll come home and she'll notice that her window's open. She's like, I could have sworn I closed it, but I've been crazy for these last few days. She'll go and close the window. But it's happened so many times, it takes her a while before she notices, right? She's kind of like, I know I closed this window, but again, I'm crazy, right? That it just gets to the point where now this girl got so many problems. She got Crew acting up after giving him some coochie, right? Like, just finally fucked you, and this is what you're gonna do to me. Viper warning me about Crew, but he's not telling me why he's warning me. I got a stalker. And then to top it off, I got a hot fucking neighbor. I got a hot neighbor. And I mean, a godly neighbor. And like, she made it a rule to not fuck neighbors. But of course, every neighbor want to challenge that. And he decides to play games with her. He'll race her down the stairs. He flirts with her in a way that makes her be like, this wouldn't be so bad. I can partake in some of these activities. So again, let's map out some of Kaya's problems. Crew acting up after fucking him. Viper warning her about Crew, okay? I'm trying to get you to see the full picture. Crew, Viper, hot neighbor, stalker, okay? It's giving like, why choose? Just, I'll take you all. I'll take you all. I will take you all. But then the plot fucking thickens, okay? I guess Crew has been blowing up her phone. She's hanging out with her best friend that night. She's just drinking. And Crew's like, where the fuck are you? What are you doing? Da, 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 da. And she's just like, whoa, hold on. You don't get to tell me and start checking on me like you're my father. You damn sure don't. He was doing too much. He was doing too much. And so she decides to go settle the problem by going to see him at the tattoo shop one night. He's drinking. Like, they basically said that, you know, by the time she got there, he was already drunk, shops closed up, he's just drinking, being belligerent. And this fucker put his hands on her, knocked her cold, just literally swung in her face, knocked her to the ground. And she kind of had this shocked look at her like, what the fuck just happened? And it was at that moment that she said, you got me fucked up, and she walked out of the shop. Apparently her stalker seen that. He did. The stalker's name is Reed. It is. It is. And so the stalker seen it and decided from that moment, I'm going to kill that man. Now, mind you, I guess I didn't even really tell you a lot about this stalker, okay? The stalker wanted to kill Kaya. Apparently, he's an unaliver, which again, fictional, fictional, fictional. Back to the story. He wanted to kill Kaya. Apparently, he gets off on killing women, and he started stalking her because I was going to be his next victim. But at one point, he gives himself like a time period. But at one point, he's been stalking her for so long, he decided that he really couldn't. He started falling for this girl. He found out her everyday habits, her favorite foods, little quirks, little things. He was falling for this person. He was like, it would suck to harm her. Like not knowing what I can do the next day, not knowing, not seeing her, not being a stalker for her because I would end her life would hurt me, right? Crazy. We're thinking the same thing, but anywho, so yeah, at that point he decides he's gonna end Crew, and what does our stalker Reed do? He ends him in that shop, makes it look like a burglary, kills that man. Now Crew's out of the picture. Okay, one less problem for Kaya. Crew's out of the picture. Okay, Crew's out of the picture. So then, Kaya goes to the shop the next day. She sees tape. She sees police. She goes to the shop. She finds out Crew's dead. She's upset because her last conversation with him was the argument. She didn't expect that it would end like that. Now, again, she doesn't know she has a stalker. You know what I'm saying? She's still trying to figure things out. Like, what the fuck is happening? What do you mean? What's going on? How did this happen? So, again, it looked like a burglary gone wrong. Like he was protecting the shop and he ended up dying. But then Viper comes around while she's crying and he kind of goes, you really can't be crying over this man. You don't even understand who he was. And she's like, I need you to tell me what's going on and why do you keep warning? You've been warning me about Crew forever and I'd like to think I know this man, but she didn't. So Viper goes, I'm not really allowed to say anything, but I'm going to tell you. Crew's family, right? Now, mind you, no one knew anything about Crew. No one knew Crew had family. But Crew's family deals in human trafficking. Girls. Just sell them to the highest bidder, right? Fucked. And so she's like, what the fuck? And I guess Crew made a deal with his brother. Crew owed somebody debt. Not a trafficking debt, obviously, but he owed somebody some gambling debt, some type of debt. And, of course, he went to his brother, who's obviously, like, the top-notch trafficking kingpin. I don't know what the fuck you'd call it. It's weird. And he basically said, I can pay your debts back, but in return, I want the girl that, you're obviously obsessed with. And him probably being drugged up high, who knows why he agreed to it, said yes. But I think he started becoming obsessed with Kaya because he knew that his brother was closing in. I guess he had a date to pay his brother back, or something along those lines. And if he couldn't meet it, he was going to take Kaya as a repayment. And the time was running out, which is why he started getting really anxious and being paranoid over Kaya. So that solves that problem. Boom, right? But he's already gone. Viper's like, I'm just going to keep an eye out because now that Crew's gone, we don't know if the brother's going to show up for his payment because now that Crew's gone, the debt's still out, right? He could still come and collect. What's to stop him from coming to collect payment regardless, And so Viper now installs cameras in her house to keep an eye on her because Crew's brother did text her and kind of was like, hey, we have a private funeral for Crew. And it turns out that was a lie. It was just to lure her out. The story it gets thick. It gets thick. So give it a, because the story is fucking amazing. It is beautiful. It is a beautiful fucking story. Each character has their own life and she gets into it and you fall for them. So now we're on Viper. Viper installs camera in her house because she's starting to think she's in danger because of Crew's brother, right? Still not realizing she possibly has a stalker. So now her issues are Viper, stalker, hot neighbor, okay? Now the neighbor is just here at this point. He's trying to be in a relationship with, he likes her. He wants to take her out on a date and she's still adamant like, look, I just kind of want to hang out with you, maybe fuck around with you, but I do not want to date. And he's like, look, like we're adults. Let's go on one date and we'll see how it is. But she's absolutely adamant on no dating neighbors. But after losing Crew, he's been there to console her and he sees the bruise on her face. And so, we like that big protective man, you're going to save me from the bad guy. And, you know, again, there's cameras in her house. And of course, even though Viper installed them, he's also a creep. So he likes to see where she's at all times. And that leads to other things. So at this point now, I think it's time I'm going to give you a little midway pause and we get into some of the fun stuff. We're going to get into it. I can't give you quotes of the book because I genuinely think the whole book just needs to be read. I do. I also really slacked on that part because I was so focused on the story and the spice and the characters that even though there was so many funny fucking things that I could have wrote down for quotes, I just slipped the ball on that. So that's my mistake. But what I am going to give you is some of my favorite spicy scenes, and there is a few. So one, Kaya fucks crew in the tattoo shop. We had already talked about that. We'll move past that because to me it's like it was good. And again, they did describe him as a well-endowed man. So I mean, anywho. Number two, Kaya fucks herself with a giant dildo. And while she was doing so, she was supposed to be calling out her hot neighbor's name because he says, call out my name if you're going to masturbate. And she didn't. But funny thing that did happen, after her door got like knocked in, like someone kicked in her door, and he's seen the giant dildo, he stuck it above her door, like, and she's probably average height, but he stuck it obviously really, really high up. So it stayed there for the longest time because she couldn't reach it. It like anyone who walked in could see that there was a giant purple dildo hanging above her door. So to me, that was really funny and cute. One of my favorite though. So Alex, the neighbor, takes her out on a beautiful date. I'm assuming they're in the city, New York, and he takes her out on this nice day. They're probably just, I couldn't even tell you where because I'm not from New York, but wherever it is they go in New York. And then they get back and she's obviously really feeling him. And again, she describes him also as someone who's very chiseled, six pack, really tall, probably like 6'3", 6'4", probably well endowed. And they've been teasing each other since they've known each other. So even though she wants to fuck him, she basically told him like, I need a man who's going to let me know, who's going to understand my boundaries, right? I'm going to tell him no, but he knows how to push that. You don't just take my no as a no. Sometimes it's no, but read the tone. And so basically she was just asking him to know when to push it and when not to push it, and know when to fall back and know when to fall forward. And he's reading into it. He's kind of like, baby, okay. So at this point, he's not giving her anything. He's not giving her anything. So she's been pent up for weeks. She's been pent up sexually for weeks. And they get back from a great date, probably grinding on each other, starting to feel each other up, getting hot and heavy. And she was like, please do something. And so him being the fucking 6-foot giant lifts her up and eats her out in the hallway. And I wish I can tell you that I don't think that's hot, but my God, I found that to be incredibly fucking beautiful. In the hallway of their apartment complex, the thought of getting caught is number one, right? And then the simple fact that you had that strength to hold me up and devour me. Yes, I'm going to keep going. Can't combust. Now I want to get into some of the spicier parts that I think is like, no judgment. We don't do judgment here. We get that. Reed, who is the stalker, at one point in the book, she's masturbating, probably fingering herself, fucking herself, right? And he decides to make it known that he's in the room. So at this point, she probably realizes, she knows she has a stalker. She didn't know what he's there for, how long he's been there, but she heard a man unzip his pants, and she just decided, I'm gonna have to keep going because I don't want him to know that I know that he's there. But she's masturbating and he's masturbating, and he's making it known that he's in the room masturbating. And so she's going and he's going, and she combusts and then he combusts, and then it's just, he does something that I don't want you guys to judge me for saying. I'm not the one who wrote the book, but I do think it's pretty hot. Sick, yes. Hot, yes. Sick, though, yes. After, they both finished, I guess he like gets up and wipes his cum on her lip. Like, I don't know. I think that's kind of what happened. It's something along those lines that made it like, oh, okay. Got it. It's real. we're gonna keep going. She fucks Alex in a tattoo shop. Fucks. She fucks this man in a tattoo shop, and it's some of the best sex that she's probably had in the book, because the way it's described is they went on and on and on and on and on. But anywho, that's enough of the spicy scenes, because now I'm getting in too deep of the book. Installed cameras in her house to keep her safe from potentially Crew's brother. But what I didn't tell you about Viper was Viper is in a motorcycle gang. I did tell you that. But in motorcycle gang world, apparently you have an old lady, and he's been wanting Kaya to be his old lady forever. And Kaya's probably like 23, 24. She's still a baby. So she knows she's not ready to settle down. But Viper is that person who doesn't take no for an answer. He's willing to wait until you do anything. But at this point, after saving her and after helping her, he's deciding like, no, I'm going to 100% just take you. You're going to be my old lady. You're going to be protected underneath my roof. When I say he's that possessive of a person. So now Viper's becoming a fucking problem, right? I was vouching for this, man. I wanted it to be either Crew or Viper, and now it's not Crew, and I'm really starting to dislike Viper. But one day he decides, you know what, fuck that. I'm going to go and snatch this girl up, and she's coming home with me whether she wants to or not. So then it gets a little iffy and tricky, because Crew's brother tries to also do the same thing. Stalker, Reed, takes out Crew's brother. I think his name was Mason. Takes out Mason easily. At this point, Kaya knows she has a stalker, because he's been letting it be known by leaving things around. He wrote on her wall, basically like, let's play a game. You want to play a game? Let's do this. So now she knows, but she's not reporting it because something about her thinks that this is fun. It's adrenaline. She's just going through a lot. She just lost her friend. You know, there's just so much going on. She found out that her friend's family was into traffic, and she didn't even know he had a family. So she's just going through her own things at this point. So not reporting a stalker is obviously horrible, but she's just letting it be until whatever. And apparently the stalker knows how to like hack into her cameras and kind of clone it so that he gets to go on her apartment and do whatever, and anyone who's looking at her feed would think nothing's wrong because they don't see anything. And so then the ball continues to trickle. Like I said, Viper's trying to take her one night, and our stalker guy Reed decides abso-fucking-lutely not and ends him. So now took Crew out the picture, took Mason, which is Crew's brother, out the picture, and then just took Viper out the motherfucking picture. Like, goddamn. So now that she's going through all this, her having fun with the neighbor, she's like, no, I got to end this, because I refuse to be the reason someone's life is at risk, is at jeopardy. So she tries breaking things off with Alex, and he's like, what the fuck is your problem? Because absolutely not. And she finally kind of breaks down and goes, look, I have a stalker. The other night, she's trying to just admit all these things that's been happening and how she's been acting erratically. But he's kind of like, look, are you sure you're not crazy? That's number one. And then number two, he says something while they were fucking in the shop that kind of made her like look back at him like, where have I heard that before? So as he's fucking her, he says something like, oh, let's play a game. So she kind of looks back like, where have I heard that? Sounds a little familiar. Like, what the fuck? Now I got to just start wrapping things up because it's such a good book. So prior to them having sex, right? Because I know I'm all over the place. I know I'm doing my best. So prior to them having sex, right before they did, he decided he wanted to make his move on Kaya because she had broken off with him. And he goes, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. But he went to see her at her shop because she's a tattoo artist. He goes, I want a tattoo. That's really why I'm here. Turns out that's not why he was there. So she asked him to fill out paperwork. You know, you got to do all that. And the paperwork, his first and last name was Alex Reed, which is weird because the stalker in the book's name is Reed. So now I'm trying to put two and two together and get four, not five. And that same night, they're having fun. They're talking it over. They finally have sex inside the shop. She thinks nothing of it until he says something. And it still doesn't click in her head until like much later. But I can't quite remember what was the moment that she realized that the two were the same, but she was starting to get thoughts like, is my neighbor my stalker? Like the stalker was just in her room. And so she immediately ran and knocked on his door because they must live on opposite sides. So if he's climbing up her balcony, trying to climb up her balcony to climb down, to climb up his would take some time. So she immediately runs to the end of the hall and knocks, and he kind of gets up out of bed and is like, what are you doing? She's like, you sure you wasn't in my room? It wasn't you? And he's kind of like, babe, chill. Like, No, I've been here. I would love to, because she dressed up for the stalker. It's a whole thing. It's a whole fucking thing. And the motorcycle gang people are already suspicious of Kaya, because Kaya's supposed to be Viper's old lady, and she's kind of sleeping around with a neighbor who she doesn't really know at the moment is the stalker. So they're kind of looking at her like, bitch, like, we've been keeping an eye on you. We've been stationed outside of your house, and you fuck around on Viper, and you're fucking your neighbor in front of everybody. It's disrespectful to his name, whether you were his old lady or not. We did a lot for you. You're considered family. So now she's kind of like, look, I have a stalker. Maybe it could be him. And they come in and check her cameras, and they realize that the stalker's been hacking into her feed and creating a loop. So now they're kind of like, it's possible that it could be this guy. So now she's trying to put two and two together on who it could be. Like, who would this person be? So she hacked into her own system to see all the deleted files, right? Because obviously this man was able to wipe out files, but he didn't delete them. She seen an image of a man in her room. So she downloaded that and kind of brightened it up, did a whole bunch of Photoshop to it, and seen that it was her motherfucking neighbor, Alex Reed. It was. So now she wants to play the game back. She's shocked. Like, I've been with you for weeks. We've been trying to date. We got into this. You consoled me through both of my friends' death, Crew and Viper. I told you about Crew's brother. You were there for me. We went on a date. You ate my pussy in the hallway. We fucked at my tattoo shop. And you were the person stalking me and scaring me and doing all this crazy shit this whole time? You fucking weirdo. Fucking weirdo. So she goes to her friend Natalie's house for the night after leaving him a note. So he thinks he could do the same thing the very next day. He assumes he could just break into her house like he usually has and, create a loop that, will tip nobody off. And she left a note for him and goes, Alex, I know it's you. And he's excited because he's like, bet. Now the real game, please. Because I knew eventually she'd figure it out. So he texted her and goes like, where are you? And he goes, never mind. I know where you are. You're at your friend's. So he eventually pops up at, the friend's house, knocked the friend out cold, probably drugged her. Who knows? She said she fell asleep. But knowing Alex at this point, I'm kind of like, he's capable of doing anything. And another spicy scene, he tells her to run. He does. He says, I'm going to give you a few seconds to run. I like the chase. So she runs. And of course, they're in New York. And where does this dumb bitch run? Like, he said it. He said, no, not run on the street where there are thousands of people. Run across the street to Central Park where we're alone. What are you doing? I'm here for it, girl, but let's really think about survival, okay? So he's like, all right, she's so predictable. So one of my final favorite spicy scenes was that Kaya fucks her stalker, or her stalker fucks her against a tree in Central Park after running away from him and finding out that technically her neighbor is her fucking stalker. Sheridan, I'm fucked up. I'm fucked up for a while about this. And I told you, I gotta take a break from dark romance. Because mentally, this is not normal to like Alex the way I like him. Like, you sick fuck, stop. You, delusional, delulu. I get it. I'm here for it. I'm sorry. Just to wrap up how this ends, because I gotta wrap this up or else I'm gonna be talking about this fucking book forever. Her and her stalker are going steady. She's like, how do I have a relationship with a serial unaliver? Like, she doesn't want him to do it anymore. And he says he really tries. He really only wants serial unalive people who are bad. But even then, she's like, no, still don't like it. So he's trying to make himself a promise to channel that energy into fucking her. So anytime he has this urge, you just inside of her, but without actually killing her. You get what I'm trying to say? Take that frustration out on the coochie, on the pussy. Beat that shit the fuck up. We get it. And so that's kind of how they do. But towards the end, as they're doing some kinky play, she accidentally stabs him. He bleeds. They go to the hospital. And she puts his name down on a paper. What I didn't tell you about Alex Reed is that he unalived his mom for some crazy shit, right? I'm pretty sure it was childhood fucking trauma. Also not okay. But this is a book, okay? And so he's been out on, a warrant for his arrest forever. He got discharged from the military. It was just a whole thing. So when she put his name down on the paper, of course, everyone's looking like, oh, we finally caught him. So their last scene was basically Bonnie and Clyde. He was like, I'm going to teach you how to run from the cops. And I was like, oh my God, danger. Oh, I just love it. Are we going to run now? Are we going to go now? Are we going to make it? And so, of course, he's like a grade A criminal. He's going to get away with it. He always has. So there was no more unaliving towards the end. It was more so like they're just going to evade the cops and settle down until things calm down. But Sheridan, what the fuck? God. Oh my God. I gave you the conclusion a little early, Sheridan. A great fucking read. A great read. A 10 out of 10. A 10 out of fucking 10. 10, 10, 10. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. 10s all around. Loved it. Loved your characters. Loved your plot. Loved the book. Loved the spice. Just loved it. Just loved it. Just loved it. It took me so long to to force myself to put the book down and go touch grass. Like, I did not pay attention to life for so long. And when I picked it back up, girl, it's just giving me the heebie-jeebies. Everything about the book was just great. And I'm trying to figure out how I want to be able to read more of you guys' books without having spend 6 episodes reading all of you guys' books and only focusing. I could focus literally seasons on each and every single author that I've ever wrote, because I know you guys have such good work, but I just got to try other things. And I think for my next episode, I got to go to vampires. I got to do something vampires. I know I'm going to be a vampire one day. I need to channel my vampire goddess energy. I got to stay away from the serial killers and the stalkers, and shadow daddies are always going to be something I'm a fan of. So I'm probably always going to read about a stalker, but nonetheless, seriously, really loved it. Really loved it. 10 out of 10. Pretty Monster was just so fucking good. Sheridan, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your words, how you put it in a book, how you captivated me. I'm in awe. I'm in love. I'm here. You got me, baby. I'm an author stalker. I love you. I can't wait for you to see my review. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you guys really genuinely take your time. If you're into dark romance and dark fantasy, read the books that I'm telling you and giving you reviews on. You will love them. You will fucking love them. I love them. I love them. So